Hey everyone, I want to talk about how how Zazen can be used to help us understand more deeply evolution and our experience of it in a body sense. I think that we can use shikantaza as a means to more deeply appreciate how how evolution has formed our very body, our physical structure. So I want to share a little bit about evolution, how I've been taught it, how I understand it in terms of this one particular moment in human evolution, in primate evolution. So if we consider ourselves, if we think about ourselves as primates, which I do, we're primates, we're related to the primates, we're related to monkeys, to chimpanzees, to apes. And we can see that relationship in our very structure, the way that our bodies are formed. They're very, very similar. Our facial expressions, our eyes, the way that we look. If you watch any like National Geographic specials on monkeys or things like that, you start to see some similarities. Of course, we're also quite different in many ways. I want to focus though on anatomy and our anatomical differences and how they have changed thanks to evolution, how we have differed thanks to evolution. About 2 million years ago, which seems like a very, very long, long time ago, like it's prehistory. 2 million years ago seems prehistory. But if we think about geographic or geologic time, 2 million years was like yesterday on the big cosmic time scale. 2 million years was like yesterday. If we think about our Earth as being some 4.5 billion years ago, 2 million years ago was like yesterday. It's not very much time. Human beings as we know them, as we are today, have only been around for some maybe 40,000 years. So that's a fairly short time. And written history, of course, only goes back maybe 2,000 years, maybe a little bit longer than that. So it's very, very short compared to the history of our Earth. And so some 2 million years ago, an interesting event happened that allowed for an evolution to take place amongst our primate ancestors. For some reason, the primates that had been up to that point fairly living in trees made a choice to descend into the savannas, which made them incredibly vulnerable to predation from various kinds of animals. You might wonder, like, why would they have gone, they've been in the trees and that's where they've been adapted to. All of a sudden, they go down out of the trees into the savannas, and there's significant pressures on them to evolve if they're going to survive, because they can't do it by walking on all fours only. So what happens? The evolutionary pressures push them to come off of all fours and to sit upright, as well as to stand upright and to walk upright. This is an amazing and major shift in anatomy that was induced by pressures in the environment. For some reason, they came out of the trees, came onto the savanna, and they learned how to get off of their front legs, which are now called our arms. They learned how to lift themselves off of their front legs and to sit or stand or walk upright. The Buddha says there are four main postures that we need to pay attention. And three of them are those: standing, walking, and sitting. All three of these are done upright. Laying down, of course, is a different one, but standing, walking, and sitting, all of these are done upright. This is one of the things that begins to differentiate us from our primate cousins. And we catch glimpses of this. If you think I'm really like far out in space here, we catch glimpses of this every time we notice a baby begin the transition from crawling to standing to finding their balance and then to walking. And for some reason, we are in awe about that process. If you see it from beginning, from the first, even starting to crawl, all of us start out crawling on all fours. This is how our ancestors lived and did it for their entire life. They stayed on all fours. But something happened, and our DNA remembers it. When we're watching a toddler transition from crawling to standing and then to walking, we are all of our genetics is just blooming forth and in those moments watching this amazing thing happen. And it's recalling that event 2 million years ago when, or maybe it wasn't a singular event, but something happened that allowed us as primates to transition from being on all fours to then, right, releasing the front legs and being able to be upright. So when we sit in Zazen, sitting upright, we can recall, this evolutionary transition from moving on all fours to being upright. Right? This is another way of talking about upright sitting or being upright. If you, we say in Zen, we say ordinary mind is the way. And we might not think very much about sitting upright. Yeah, we all do it, and we take it for granted. I'm just suggesting here that we no longer take being upright for granted, that this is a major evolutionary shift in primate anatomy and consciousness. And this is something that we can celebrate. This is something that we can celebrate while practicing Zazen, that we have transitioned, right? We've made that. It seems like it was just yesterday that it happened, if we think in terms of long geological time period. And of course, this thinking about time in terms of geological periods of millions and billions of years is also built into the Buddhist sutras. So we have lots of thoughts already within Buddhism that encourage looking at things through a deep time lens like this. It was like just yesterday we were swinging in trees, having a grand old time, and then all of a sudden we lifted our front legs off of the ground and began to walk. And this has changed everything for us. So let's not take for granted our ability to be upright, to walk on two legs, to stand up, and to also to marvel at that newborn or that toddler as they gain the independence of walking on two legs.